Do you remember that we were supposed to leave G32 at like 4:30, bus at 5:30, and they got on the mic like, problem with the plane, we're leaving at 5:30 now, and everyone was like,
We had, listen, in G32, it was VIP section. Then you had a VIP in the VIP. Lamar Odom had his own VIP section.
He was like DJing, wasn't he?
Yeah. We are controlling transmission.
WRTS After Party. We run the station.
So let's get to it, man. People, welcome to WRTS, the After Party, Uninterrupted's new reaction show. As we've been doing lately, we're breaking down the latest episodes of The Last Dance. I'm your host, Paul Rivera. As always, in the After Party, I'm here with a special group of VIPs, the legend Sue Bird, the legend Mr. Carmelo Anthony, and Mr. Three-peat guest himself, Mr. Maverick Carter. What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
What's up? That's the only thing that makes me a legend. I three-peated on the show. I three-peated on the show.
All right, so let's jump into our discussion for episodes 5 and 6 of Last Dance. Obviously, we just saw episodes 5 and 6. Any big takeaways, any immediate takeaways coming right off of watching them?
So my little like MJ memory popped up during the show today. So I'll start there. And the funny thing about that is it's like, I was legit 12 years old, diehard Knick fan. I mean, watching those Charles Smith highlights over and over again.
Oh, God.
And getting blocked really just brought it all back. But I had no idea, like the gambling, like that he went to AC, that it was like a big issue. Like, I guess my 12-year-old self just like wasn't tuning in like that. I was all in on the games and I like just thought it was all basketball. So to see this other side, that stood out right away. Cause I literally thought like, oh shit, he's pissed because John Starks dunked. And here we go.
I think for me, it was just that he was human, right? And now people are getting a chance to see him as a human being. Like, and instead of this purest of the pure, alien, like he make mistakes. He's done some stuff in his past while he was playing, and he's human. And I think he wanted people to understand that he was human, right? He got tired of just being, this. I said again, the purest of the pure. He actually said it in there, like the purest of the pure. Yes, everybody make mistakes. Everybody go through stuff. Everybody have things that they love, hobbies, and it just humanized them. And I'm glad people getting a chance to actually see that side of them.
Yeah, I would say, and obviously Sue and Melo as professional athletes can speak to this for sure, but I spent my fair share of time with Melo, with Ron, with lots of athletes. Like, it was definitely that part that Melo said of like, he's human, shit bothered him. Like, you would think Michael Jordan's is invincible because on the court he was, right? He was invincible. But shit did get to him. And to Sue's point, I think the thing I'm enjoying most, again, I've said it before about this doc, is getting to see things that I otherwise forgot. Like, I just forgot it. I remember watching all those games, but a lot of that shit I forgot. The whole Atlantic City thing. I remember gambling in general, but the Atlantic City thing specifically I forgot. And the truth is, as he said, like, they made it a big deal, A, because it was Michael, B, because it was the Eastern Conference Finals, and C, the media always needs something to write about. But staying up to 1 o'clock in the morning the night after a game, people understand, like, when you're an athlete, by the way, and the other thing is, like, them drinking beer. I was talking to my dad about this. Them drinking beers after a game. Mel and Sue, you can speak this. After a game, you're hyped up. You're like, your blood has been pumping. Your heart rate has been at 160, 170 for 2 straight hours. You actually need a wine or something to bring you down and chill out. And I've talked a lot of, it's hard to go to bed, Mel. Sue, you probably can say, after a game, even if you just sat in the room quiet, you're not going right to sleep.
Not at all.
So for him to go to Atlantic City wasn't that, it wasn't that big of a deal, but they had to write something. But I've sat in room with many a player and gambled till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, after games, the night before games, for sure. Every player that I know. So, but it's not, but the media had to find something to write about. And as a kid, I remember that being a big deal. And now being an adult who's been around athletes and sports, like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. But I understand why they had to make it a big deal.
That's how I felt about him like the whole book that came out and him like fighting with a teammate. I'm
Mhm.
like, that's normal. Like, who hasn't had a fight with a
Oh
teammate?
my God.
But like some people just don't understand that.
Fight with teammates, forget about it. I mean, just that like another thing I'll say to that is like it puts me like I get the insight from being on the inside now, right? And really understanding and putting myself in those times in that locker room and on those buses and like the trash talking that everybody was talking and the things that he was saying right at the end of the day and how he was talking to people, but it was always from a competitive nature. Like he always had to have one up on another person. So him being competitive, like Mav said, everybody gambles, man. It's just at that point in time, it wasn't social media, right? Nobody was talking about it. It was just him. He was going to gamble, and it was people say it was swept under the rug because it wasn't public. You know what I'm saying? It was whispered. And if you wanted to know that, you really had to call Atlantic City. You really had to call these casinos. You had to get confirmation. Now
on the landline.
Somebody else is going to confirm you with a picture, with a phone, far away. They're going to say you was in there. So it's very different. But I think today, nobody would even pay attention to that.
One thing that surprised me on The Last Dance, MJ admitted to being upset that Barkley won the 93 MVP over him. Is there any award in your career you feel you should have won? Let's be honest now. And Sue, we'll start with you.
Oh, me first? No time to think. Not really. I mean, because it's a question we're here and I have to answer, I'll say in 2008 WNBA season, I kind of felt like I could have. It was like the one year where I had a chance to get MVP. And I'm not saying it should have happened. I think Candace Parker got it as a rookie that year, if memory serves. And it was kind of like a weird year because there were some players that were out. And so it was kind of this chance. We had some injuries and I kind of held it down. And it was like the one chance I had and I didn't get it. Not that I should have, but I kind of wish I did.
That's fair. That's fair. Melo?
Damn, yo, listen, this is really putting me on the spot. It's actually two. It's two of them, though, right? It's in college. They gave the National Player of the Year to TJ Ford.
Wow.
Right. So I was tight about that. And then rookie year, they gave it to Bron.
Of course.
Right. So those are my two moments.
So let me ask you, Mel, did you know in 2003, did they give that award before the tournament or during the tournament? Like, did it fire you up going into the tournament? You knew you wasn't getting it?
I got the heads up.
Got it. Because, of course, you had maybe
Yeah,
the greatest tournament. You had maybe the greatest tournament run in the history of college, definitely as a freshman, for sure.
I appreciate it.
So you used it like Michael did, the same way.
Yeah, like it was just like, yo, I can't believe, like, what? You know what I'm saying? And then they started saying, like, nah, we don't, NCAA, they don't give it to freshmen. So I had to deal with all of that. So, it happened.
And Mel, it's funny you mentioned the Rookie of the Year because our producer actually called out that he thought you should have at least been a co-Rookie of the NBA of the Year.
I swear I thought we was getting co-Rookie of the Year.
Which they've done a lot.
I was going to say, they've done that a bunch of times.
We
actually
talked about that at that point in time. Like, yo, we co-Rookie of the Year. Like, we talked about that.
You and Bron, before it was announced, you thought you guys would be co's. My biggest takeaway of this wasn't necessarily a takeaway from these episodes, but to your point, Mav, was just like a refresher was like, oh shit, the Dream Team, 92, Olympics. Mav, I don't know if you know this. We have esteemed Olympic legends joining us today, right? So Melo has 3 gold medals, right, Melo? That's 3?
True, yes, true.
And of course, you'll notice a theme here of Sue one-upping us with her hoodie and the swag. She has 4 gold medals.
This is in my rotation too, by the way, fellas. I got like 4 of them that just...
One thing I didn't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, Melo, Sue, both your first Olympics was in 2004?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
2004, and you guys stood on the Queen Mary in 2004?
Yes.
Yep.
Talk about that experience a little bit, please. What was that like?
I have a different experience than Sue, though. I'll tell you that.
Talk to us, please.
Which part? If I do a combo memory, what I remember is like you had Melo, LeBron, D Wade were kind of like the young bucks. Then it was like myself, Diana, even Tamika Catchings. We were kind of the young bucks. More so me and D. I think Ketchup might have been starting. We weren't like playing as much. I don't think really, like you guys played a little bit too, but not probably as much as you deserved. So we actually spent like a ton of time in this one establishment on the boat. I actually remember the name because we chanted it. G32.
32.
It goes down in infamy. G32.
Me too.
Which is a nightclub on the
yes, we were there a lot. So yeah, I have good memories from that. And then of course on the court, it was like my first Olympics. I was totally being groomed. Didn't play much. Just trying to like learn because the overseas game is so different, you know. And at that point, I hadn't played overseas. And real quick, the one thing that really shocked me was when Tony Kukoc said he was going to make more in Europe than in his first. I was like, whoa,
that's crazy.
That is crazy. So that
he said millions too, not a little bit of money, millions. Yeah, millions.
I was like,
difference.
dang. But yeah, so that was the first Olympic experience.
Mel 04.
Let me get a sip. Hold up. Nah, it was, honestly, like looking back at it now, it's like, I wouldn't change that experience for nothing, right? Because to this day, I wouldn't probably be the same person, right? I had to go through something like that. So I just remember like 2 weeks before everything is about to start, we get the call and then they like, yo, we want y'all to come to Jacksonville, right? So we in Jacksonville, we go to Jacksonville. two weeks prior, we there. So we just thinking, like, yo, look, we the young boys on the team. We come in like they really need us. Let's go put in the work. We go on the exhibition little tour. First of all, we played Puerto Rico in Jacksonville, which was crazy.
Oh, the Puerto Rico game.
Yeah, so for me, I was both sides. I had both emotions going on. But I just remember like AI gets suspended. Amari got suspended. Coming to the meeting, like the meeting started early. So say the meeting was 7:00. The meeting started at 6:58. You know what I'm saying? So they was considered late. They didn't play in the game. So anyway, we go to Turkey. We go to a couple other places, and we coming off the bench with firepower. Like we got something to prove. So we started calling ourselves the Young Guns.
Now, Melo, when you say we, it's you, Bron.
It's me, Bron, D Wade,
Stat.
Amari, yeah. So we was we
Amari.
was the Young Guns, right? So we get over there. Every time we came in the game, we either opened the game up or we brought us back from the lead, right? So we get to the first game and we playing Puerto Rico again. I look up at the score, man, we down 30.
I was there.
We down 30 to Puerto Rico. All you hear is you hear all that. Puerto Rico, oh, like, so you hear all of that. So we in there, I'm like, man, I'm like, yo, we ain't.
Carlos.
Carlos, of course.
Yeah, Carlos,
yeah.
Shout out to Carlos, man.
Carlos Arroyo.
We on the bench, and it's just like, we ain't getting in the game. It's embarrassing. We looking up in the stands. We see nothing but Puerto Rico flags. Like, it was bittersweet for me, but I was like, damn, we ain't play. Nigga, don't talk to me at all.
That's what I remember too, though. I remember that for you guys
so it was
too.
like, and that's how I walked off. I remember walking off and going down like the media path. And they like, oh, Mr. Anthony, like, he want to talk to us about the game. But mind you, I'm not thinking about anything else. I ain't played. Go talk to somebody else who played.
Yeah, you're a competitor too. You're upset you didn't play. Yeah.
Go talk to somebody else who played. And all shit broke loose on that. And then G32 became my best friend, man.
So the starting five on that team was Steph, AI, Sean Marion, I think, Richard Jefferson, and Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan, yeah. Tim Duncan definitely.
So Marion and Richard Jefferson, obviously small forwards. Carmelo and LeBron made a pact. If we pulled the numbers right now, Carmelo and LeBron destroyed Sean Marion and Richard Jefferson every time they played him the following year.
Do you remember the conversation, Matt? Do you remember those conversations we had, though?
I remember them generally, but not.
Yes,
but LeBron, I remember you guys made a pact. Like every time you face Sean Marion and Richard Jefferson, because they started over them on the Olympic team. What was the combos, Melo?
it was just more like when we made that pact, right? It was just like, yo, they like what? They playing in front of us? Really? Like that was me and Braun's mentality. But then we used to go to practice, and in practice, that was our games. Like we used to huddle up before practice and be like, yo, listen, let's go to war. Like we want to smoke today. Like if they ain't ready to play today, it's on. You know what I'm saying? We used to make them so hot.
And Melo, and Sue, you guys now as veterans, you can imagine the vets will probably show up to practice like light walkthrough. You know, you're not trying to go hard in practice.
Yeah, but
you guys, the young bucks.
You got to think the vets back then they was arrogant. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They wasn't like, yo, I got you, youngin. Like I got you. I'm gonna take care of you. It was you're on the island of by yourself.
Shut up. I've had that conversation with Richard Jefferson. To Melo's point, that's the Michael Jordan and Melo. He used Richard Jefferson and Marion starting over him as motivation to bust their ass.
Absolutely.
I remember I asked Richard Jefferson about it. He was like, Melo and Brian kicked my ass every game that following year. And I had nothing to do with it. It was Larry Brown's choice. It wasn't I didn't do anything to that. But that's caliber of players like Melo and Michael Jordan, the same thing. They find anything like, oh, the coach is playing you. Okay, when I see you, I'm kicking your ass.
Sounds like it's very like the parallels between Carmelo's experience and mine. It's like crazy because we kind of had like this young, like there was the starters and you've got legends, right? Like if they were cocky, they had reason to be because it's like Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Dawn Staley, Tina Thompson, Katie Smith, like legends. They're starters. And then you had me, Diana, Swing Cash, Yolanda Griffith actually would play with the Young Bucks, and then like Ruth Riley. Yeah. And so we were the same way every day in practice and you know that now, like you brought up a good point. You know now, like when you're the vet, you're kind of walking into practice like, all right, let's get through this. But we were like every day we would bust their ass. We would kill them every day. I'm like not even ask anybody. We would kill them every day. I don't think they cared. Like now that I'm a vet, I know they didn't care. But every day we were like, yup, like this is our games because we're not playing. Like Melo said,
this is our game time.
Like that's all we had. But yeah, but it was interesting. So watching the Dream Team practice, we definitely had some battles like that. But what it actually reminded me of, which is kind of off topic, was when we play overseas, like all of us go overseas to play, you have these like Yankee type teams that are just like stacked, you know? I could name names all day, like it would be like 2 WNBA All-Star teams playing against each other. So actually picture a WNBA or an NBA All-Star game, right? That kind of talent, but there's actually stakes. You're playing for EuroLeague finals. You're playing for a Russian League finals. So when I watch that practice, and obviously I've heard of that practice like numerous times, the first thing I think of is like all the overseas games where the teams were just stacked and we were actually playing for something like legit. I mean, some of it was money too, but you're playing for like something. So you could imagine like how intense those games would be.
It's a quick story. Me and Braun gets into it with Marbury on the bus.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
in the Olympics.
Yeah, but PR, that's for us. Yeah, that's for us. But
Say no more. Say no more.
Sue probably was on that bus. We were all on the same plane.
Sue. It was the night after everything was the day after everything was over. Mm-hmm. So everybody was kind of mentally out of it. You know what I'm saying? If you
argument.
I'm with you. We'll take that offline, Mel.
And it was early.
Melo and Braun end up in a real deal argument on the bus on the way to the plane going home. Like Marbury started going crazy on them.
That's a fact.
Yes. By the way, 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it was early.
Mind you, we had just left G32 at like probably an hour before.
At 5:30.
Literally. Do you remember that we were supposed to leave G32 at like 4:30, bus at 5:30, and they got on the mic like, problem with the plane. We're leaving at 5:30 now, and everyone was like,
we had in G32. It was VIP sections. Then you had a VIP in the VIP. Lamar Odom had his own VIP section.
He was like DJing, wasn't he? Yes. He got behind the DJ table at one point.
Yes. And Marbury got on the bus and specifically went at Melo and Braun like, you guys are nothing. You're wasting your talent. You're never going to be good. You didn't help this team. It got serious and it got like really like the whole bus had the whole bus's attention.
It was
Wow.
crazy, man. And I remember one thing he told us, and I'm honestly, man, even everything that like we were going back and forth on, like even when I think back about it now, it's like, damn, like he was really saying some real shit to us, but we wasn't trying to hear that shit. What you
No,
talking?
it sounded like hating. It sounded like
Yeah,
he
it was
hating at the
almost
time.
like hating, hating on us. I don't think he was hating us, but he was in his way. He was trying to school us. And I remember I took one thing from him. What he said. He said, "Listen, y'all want to be buddy buddy." I remember he said, "Y'all want to be buddy buddy. When y'all play against each other, I want to see y'all play, guard each other in the fourth quarter. Like, fuck all that buddy buddy shit." He said that, and then he was just like, y'all ain't gonna be no star if y'all don't want to guard the best player. Like he started going crazy on us.
He started going crazy.
Let me ask this. Speaking of vets, was there a vet, Sue, I'll go to you first. Was there a vet in your career early on that, I don't know if I'd say took you under their wing, but that just helped, right? Just helped show you how to be a pro?
Well, since we're on the Olympics topic, two come to mind. The first is Cheryl Swoops. It actually was, I made the world championship team. So like the 2 years prior to that, I had just come out of college then. So it's 2002. I've just come out of college. And I'm like, I don't want to say the Christian Laettner, but I'm kind of like, I am being groomed. I want to, as it turns out, I was being groomed.
One thing for sure, Connecticut women's is the Duke of
Duke
men's.
basketball.
If you're not a fan, you hate them.
Oh, you hate on them. That I agree with.
Because they just win every fucking, even when they lose, you feel like they won. It's like, hate them. Everybody, that's how Duke is.
So yeah, so it was like my first USA basketball experience with the national team. Like never played with them before. And again, it's all those names I said earlier. And I was just, and it's so my personality. I was just kind of like, trying to like ease my way in, not trying to, so, I'm not like playing amazing. I'm not playing bad. I'm just kind of there. I'm just this young person. And she like pulled me over and was just like out of nowhere, just pulled me over and had that moment of like, there's a reason you're here. You need to start playing like it. It doesn't matter that I'm Cheryl Swoops. Doesn't matter that I'm Lisa Leslie. Like, this is why you're here. And like, if you don't like start acting like that, you're going to fuck up and like, this isn't going to be a thing for you. And I was kind of like, oh shit. So that was like the first spark. And then I had a very similar experience or conversation with Dawn Staley. That was more like when you're on this team, again, doesn't matter who the names are, anything, like you have to run it. So those two, but that Cheryl Swoops conversation, I like vividly remember. We were in China. I will never forget. I can like picture the locker room. Yeah.
Wow. Mel, anyone a vet for you at any point?
The Olympic team, but it wasn't. I mean, we had vets, but it was just more like that team was every man for themselves, man. And like if it wasn't for myself and Bron and D-Wade and even Stat like coming together, man, we wouldn't have survived that Olympics. Like emotionally, we wouldn't have survived that. But then even on like in Denver, like Kenyon Martin, even when he came from New Jersey, like he gave me a different mindset. Like he enhanced my mindset on being tough and
he was a dog. He was a dog.
He demanded that out of you. You know what I'm saying? Like in practice, he used to call me Xavier McDaniel, yo, X-Man here. All you want to do is foul and shit. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that was the type of shit we was dealing with. So him, Marcus Camby, I had Andre Miller with Andre Miller. Without even saying nothing, I learned so much from him. You know what I mean?
Pro. Jay was a pro.
As a true professional.
Yeah.
Back then, I didn't understand it. Now I understand what being a true professional is. And Andre Miller was one of the guys that he was a true pro, bro.
One of the things that was super interesting, having worked at Nike, earlier on in my career, was seeing MJ go through, that, shoe recruitment or negotiation process. Mav, I'm gonna kick it off with you. Did that remind you back to you going through, the Nike and shoe deal situation with LeBron, I guess 18 years ago now?
And for 2.5 years when I worked at Nike basketball was getting their ass handed to them. AI was at Reebok. Kobe was still at Adidas. KG left Nike to go to Adidas. Chris Webber left Nike to go to Dada.
Yep. Spinners.
Tim Duncan left Nike to go to Adidas. So, and Tracy McGrady was at Adidas. Forget about it. Adidas was on fire. So 03 comes. it's going to be everybody's, it's Melo just wins a national title. LeBron's at the most hype we've seen as a high school player since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Nike does the Scarface. You want to play rough? Say hello to my little friend. They signed Melo, put him on Jordan. They signed LeBron, put him on Nike. They signed D-Wade, put him on Converse. They're like, we are not. They're like Nike. They made a point like Nike basketball is important to us as a company. This is a very important draft class. We know it. And from that moment, since '03, Nike basketball, the numbers have come way back. And obviously, one is faded and Adidas has come and went. But I know that feeling. And I actually worked at the company then, like they did with Michael, when it's like, okay, at the point they got Michael is like, they didn't have basketball. So it's like, we are going hard at basketball and we got our guy. In '03, I saw it like, basketball needs a total rejuvenation. And we have a group of players here that are not only going to rejuvenate basketball, but we're making a huge bet that they rejuvenate Nike. Mel lived it. I mean, he is like
Yeah, and Mel, I'm guessing you were probably 18, right? 18?
19.
I was 19 coming out of college.
19?
17, about to be 18.
Got you. What's that like? You're negotiating with Brand Jordan. Was Mike at all part of the process? Did you talk to him? Like, what was that recruitment process?
Mike, those conversations was intense. It was, but you got to remember, I went to Oak Hill my senior year, so we was a Jordan school already.
That's right.
And I just remember, prior to that, all my teams was Adidas. So I went to ABCD camp. I didn't go to Nike camp. So then I went to Oak Hill, and we had a tournament here in Portland. They put the Les Schwab tournament, I think, here in Portland. And that was for me to be, for me to be in front of all the Nike reps and everybody. And we actually won the tournament. And I just remember going back to Oak Hill, leaving Oak Hill, going to Syracuse. Once we won the national championship, I was still in school, but back then you had to wait till you get out of school to go, talk to negotiate, go to the brands and the shoe companies. But I was able to do it while I was still in school. After we won, it was just like, I'm going out there, I'm flying out there, let's talk. And I didn't really know anything about that, that part of the business. People don't know, my first year, I was signed to Nike. Right? I didn't have a signature shoe because the brand at that point in time, I was the first signature athlete at the brand.
I was about to say that.
So,
Melo, you were the first signature athlete at Jordan?
I was the first signature athlete at Jordan. Yes, I was the first signature athlete.
Besides Michael.
Right. I remember there wasn't a plan at that point in time, right? But LeBron was at Nike and MJ stepped up and said, look, I'll pay half, Nike pay half. Look, I'll take Melo. Y'all got LeBron. Converse got D-Wade and Bosch. And, they had a crew over there at Converse. And my first sneaker I ever played with at Jordans was like 16.5s or some shit like that. And I remember playing in my first game as a rookie or preseason, and the sneaker came off as I was playing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not playing in another retro again. I'm playing. Let's work on this signature shoe, and that's how everything started.
I was working at Nike. I was literally an employee living in Beaverton when Jordan Brand signed Melo, and we've all watched the doc. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player we've ever seen, the most competitive motherfucker, always wants to win, and he always has to have one up on somebody. So you could imagine going to him and saying, Michael, we're going to put this other guy in your shoes, and you need to give him money and some of your royalty to help you sell your shoes. And Michael's like, help me do what?
I'm Michael Jordan.
Nobody. Yeah. I'm Michael Jordan. People buy the shoes because of the jump man. They don't give a fuck about LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony or Ray Allen. And Nike, I remember those. I was too young to be in the meetings, but I would hear about them. We were having a conversation because at that point, Mike had just retired. Remember 03, Mike played. Yeah. And they were like, no, Mike, to keep the brand going, blah, blah. you need other guys. And he was like, okay, well, who do you think? And they presented him Melo, like Nike's gonna take LeBron. And Melo was the first athlete that Mike bet on. That Mike went like, okay, I'll give him a piece of my money. I think he's a guy that could carry on the brand. And he was the other guys were just wearing it because they fucked with Mike. They loved Mike. Melo was the first guy to get his own shoe that he owned a piece of on the Jordan brand. And I was there.
Got it. Signature shoes. Miss Sue Bird coming your way. WNBA players. To my knowledge, there's not a current, because there has been, I believe Cheryl Swoops had a signature shoe. No current player with a signature shoe. Can I get your immediate thoughts on that?
Bullshit.
Moving on.
It's my first thought. No, it's kind of, I mean, I think, Mav, you kind of said it, like even listening to men's basketball, it's like at one point, Nike, I don't know what the right word to use is. I wouldn't say ignored per se. I mean, obviously I wasn't around, but they lost some athletes, and then it takes like a moment, right? Where they're like, oh shit, we need to go sign this class, Melo, LeBron, right? It takes like this moment. So women's basketball, we're in a moment. We may have had some moments that got missed. It's okay. It's in the past. And now we're in a moment. So I think the hope is now with all the like momentum behind women's basketball, we can get that signature shoe. I would still like it to be like someone from my generation. Like I think Diana does deserve it. That to me, it's like it goes beyond. If she could play one more year, it's still worth it. But I could also see them putting it behind like a young gun. So we'll see.
Got it. Good PC answer, Sue. I love it.
Thanks.
On a serious note, this episode started off, you heard MJ talking about that little Laker boy, right, at the All-Star game. And first of all, obviously, this is still a hard one for, the sports world and for us, but would love your reactions to seeing Kobe in The Last Dance.
The level of respect that we had and we have for Kobe is a lot different than a lot of other people, right? And the level of respect he had for only a small group of people, like just seeing him on there, like an MJ almost like giving him, passing him the torch, but like, nah, I'm not ready to give it to you yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to show me more. And it's my experience with Kobe, now that watching these last two episodes, I can understand where Kobe was at that point in time, right? And Kobe passing the torch to MJ, passing the torch to him. It was just like, Kobe had that mindset. He created that mindset from Michael Jordan. It was locked down. Anything in my way, I'm going to try to destroy. He was very competitive on every aspect. I don't care what it was, right? So he imitated it so much because it was greatness, right? And for me, if I can imitate greatness and I have a chance, that's my goal, then everything I'm going to do is going to look like I'm trying to copy him. I'm trying to be like him, but that's not the case. This is my goal. I don't want to be like nobody else. You know what I'm saying? I want to reach MJ. I want to be MJ. I want to be better than MJ. And that's like seeing that in these last two episodes, man. I laughed, I chuckled, you know what I'm saying? I got sad a little bit, but at the end of the day, man, that seed was planted for a reason. Like it was meant to be.
Yeah, I think when he first came on screen, or maybe you heard his voice first, there was definitely a moment, just like you heard it, you saw his face, that moment. But then you start, like Melo said, you start hearing him talk, that relationship. Obviously, we came to know a little bit more about it when MJ spoke at his memorial. But the two things that really struck me was, one, he actually said something that I caught MJ in an interview that Mike Wilbon did at the Tech Summit All-Star like a year ago. And in that interview, Michael Jordan, he was asked about like comparing, mostly to LeBron and like, and he was just like, he kind of got like a little subtle thing in there where it was like, well, when I played, it was like grown men. Nowadays, it's like young kids. And Kobe said the same thing. So that kind of stood out. I was like, oh, because Kobe was like, yeah, like when I came into the league, it was playing against like men. Now it's like all kids. So I thought that was interesting, like for them to kind of see that the same. But the other thing is, and this is like the one thing, if I could get Michael Jordan in a room, like just me and him, no, not like, I'll never repeat the answer. It's not even about that. What I'm curious is, so Kobe says, like, I have 5 rings because of Michael, right? Like, he set the bar, he set the standard in all these ways. He's the measuring stick. So what happens when somebody does get 6 rings, right? Or maybe 7, whatever the case may be. Do you think, like, what I'd want to know is, like, Michael, now that you know, because when you're the first, I don't think you realize you're setting the bar. You're just kind of doing it. And yeah, he was trying to beat Magic and Larry and all that, but you're just kind of doing it. And now that it's here, I wonder if he would, like, obviously he retired for his own reasons. It's not even about that. I don't care what the reasons are. But I wonder if he would, like, in some ways he lost some years to win, if you will. And I would wonder, like, once somebody catches up to 6, is he going to look back on his career like, man, if I'd played those 3 years, if I'd played those 2 years?
Of course.
You know, like, I wonder.
I think the competitive nature in him will do that. But I think now it's a little bit calmer with him. Like, I think he would embrace it a little bit more now than he would have in the actual past. And it, like, also I'll state this, is like, now understanding who Kobe was, right? And I think this MJ doc has really, like, connected dots on a lot of aspects and just in life in general. And Kobe wanted to not emulate him, but that was his goal, is to be MJ or be better than MJ. Quoted him, as Sue said, walked around, you know, swagger was just like him, like, you know, mentality was just like him.
Facts.
For me, it would be the same thing as if I'm coming up under Muhammad Ali, right? I love Muhammad Ali, so anything I say, I quote. And you know what I'm saying? Like, when I box, how, you know, the footwork, the shuffle, like, that's the same thing. So I want people to kind of understand that and see Kobe in a different way now after this is being shown, because before it was just like, Cole want to just be like MJ, but those dots weren't connected, and I think now the dots is connected as to why Kobe had him at the pinnacle and wanted to reach that goal.
One last thing I want to point out and bring to your attention from Last Dance before we go to the last segment is a quote from MJ. I never thought of myself as an activist. I thought of myself as a basketball player. And Melo and Sue, I know you guys, you know, especially later on in your career, have both stepped up to the plate with things that were important to you and haven't been afraid to speak out. What was your reaction to hearing Mike say that?
I'm on both sides when it comes to what he said. And I say that because, for one, being an athlete and knowing how locked in we have to be to try to win the championship. Mentally, we're not thinking about nothing else, right? We're thinking about basketball. So if you talk about deep in the middle of the season, late in the season, going into playoffs, and somebody come to you and say, do a political campaign, you're like, nah, like, I ain't, first of all, forget what he said, right? Forget the comment he made about keep everybody buy shoes. But now seeing it and understanding it, I understand where he was at as an athlete. Now, on the flip side of that, as a black athlete during that time, it was just, now seeing it, it was just like, damn, you know the impact he would have had if he would have just said something or did something or just announced something. So I see both sides of it, man. Barack Obama said something in the doc where it was just like, he made it clear though. He's like, back then, I'm talking about back then, at that moment, he made it clear at that moment, the black community was off MJ. And I'm just being blunt with it. It was just the black community was off MJ. And it was because of that, right? The black athlete at the time was the most prominent thing. And MJ was the biggest thing to the black athlete and to the world. So if he would have said one thing, yo, support my man, boom, 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 whatever, I don't know if things would have been different. You know, hindsight is always 20/20, but I see it both sides on, as an athlete, what it takes to try to win and what it takes to lock in, and you're just tunnel vision. You're not thinking about nothing else. But I also see it from the perspective of the black community and what they was looking for, and the influence that MJ had at that point in time over the black community and what that impact it had.
Yeah, I think Obama summed it up. And it's like, it's a scenario where you have to go back into that time frame where 2 things can be true. And like, basically what Melo just said, I'm going to echo that. Like, 2 things can be true. And in that time, that's like President Obama summed it up. what I find, like as my group chat was like popping in that moment, I think we we're all like talking about some stuff. And it's like nowadays, it's almost as if, you know, that saying where it's like so-and-so walked so so-and-so could run. It's like Michael Jordan, maybe he lived that in that moment. So now as athletes, you know, we kind of learn from that. We saw it. We can benefit from what he had to go through, because now, even though now is it's such a more polarizing time, but you hope that you learn from people before you. And you hope that, you know, people who have a platform and the power will, you know, use it for good. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, back then, I think it's hard to say like, oh, I see it, but I do. And it's hard to like, when you put yourself on the other foot, like he could have helped, I forget the politician's name, but he could have helped that guy win easily. So it's like Melo said, it's the scale. But again, now we're in a time where maybe MJ walked so we can run.
I'll tell you what, he would have been mayor today. If it was today, that guy would have been mayor today in Chicago. I'll tell you that.
Melo, obviously your season and the ending of it, right? We're trying to figure that thing out, right? And Sue, your season and the beginning of it, we're trying to figure that thing out. I want your take on what you guys think may happen. Obviously, no one knows. And also your take on, there's been conversation of combining the seasons, right? The WNBA and the NBA season. Yeah. So just want your thoughts on that.
First of all, I think Adam Silver's doing a great job. Let me just take my hat off to Adam Silver and give that shout out. They're trying to exhaust all options. For me, I would love to come back, right? Because I think if we come back, the amount of competitiveness that will take place on a basketball court will be out of this world. And not just from a competitive standpoint. But from the flip side of that, we only can control what we can control. And we only can worry about what we can control. We can't control everything else. So while, you know, we might open up here, it's propositions of opening up here and opening up there. But at the end of the day, I don't want to open up unless it's right for everybody, for fans, for players, for just everybody, businesses as a whole, for everybody. Don't bunker us down in one small place where there's nothing else going on. No family, no fans. We play the sport for the fans at the end of the day. We play it for the love of the game, but also for the fans at the end of the day. So if we can't play under the right circumstances, I'd rather get it right than come back and play.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because I do think when sports returns, right, and that's like a sign that we've kind of like beat this thing, and that we're kind of like, sports is what like, I guess, started this whole thing, right? It's what forced us into lockdown. It's kind of what woke everybody up. And I think when it returns, it'll be a sign that we're kind of like moving away from it. But with that, it's like for the WNBA, it's a little bit different in this regard. Like if we could I think it would be a morale booster to have sports on TV, even if it was fanless. So there's that aspect of it. And I think for us specifically, because there's not a lot of live sports happening, if we were one of those events, that would be big for our league to get eyeballs on it. So I know that that's something that on our side we're kind of talking about a lot. But to Carmelo's point, no one's trying to put anyone at risk. No one's trying to make this, and it really just depends on what angle you look at it. Are you looking at it from like a money standpoint, like the revenue versus this, tickets, fans, or are you just looking at it from like I said, a morale booster standpoint? Like I could literally wear each of those hats every day and feel different about it. But at the end, right now, as an older player, I'm like, I do just want to play. Like I don't have much time. So there is I don't want this thing to put me into retirement. Yeah. So it's kind of this it's all these emotions, right? Like you want to just play, but like you said, it's like you want to do it. It's better with fans, of course. So it's like it's a lot happening.
Melo, I don't know if you realize, like, you're one of the great stories of like this season, right? Your story and your situation. I don't know if you remember, we did dinner at Carbone.
Of course I remember.
And I asked you, I said, yo, you weren't playing yet. You weren't on the team. And I said, yo, you still working out? And you said, and I hope you don't mind me sharing, you said, P, I work out every day. I think you said 6 days a week. And I think you said you walk from your crib to the gym. And on that walk every day, you ask yourself, there's no guarantee that this shit's going to work out.
Yep.
But you're just doing it because that was a commitment to yourself. And I want to say 4 days later, you ended up signing with Portland from that dinner. I'll only take half the credit for you signing because of the dinner. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about like what this season's been like for you and your journey, please.
Man, it's been, I think now it's, I don't want to say satisfied, but I would say this is a chapter in my life, right? And if I ever write a book, this chapter would be highlighted of my life. I mean, you gotta think. And I'm just gonna give you a 4-year span of in a quick sense. I go from New York, making an all-star game, averaging 22, 23 in the Eastern Conference, dealing with everything that I was dealing with, off the court, organizational structure, just everything I was dealing with in New York. You guys know that. Getting traded the day before media day to OKC, going to OKC, actually really liking it, didn't work out for whatever reason, to going to Houston the following year, to playing 9 games, right? The first time I've ever come off the bench in 15 years, ever, to come off the bench. So that was an adjustment for me. Leading to having a year off, right? A year off trying to rebuild myself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I don't think nobody, except for the people that I actually talked to, like close people, which is maybe 4 or 5 people, and you guys you guys experienced that. I don't think nobody will understand what I went through emotionally to get through and to be where I'm at today. I'm talking about doubting myself. I'm talking about mentally giving up, like wanting to give up, looking for advice from PRU and seeing Mav and calling my, LeBron best friends and dealing with that and trying to, and Kobe, helped me through that tremendously. Dealing with that and being able to come out now on the other side of it, stepping away from the game and being able to come back. Nobody has ever did that but MJ. And seeing it from a different perspective, right? Your mindset, how you approach the game now, how you approach organizational structure, being smarter, being wiser. But I couldn't have did that if I didn't work on me within that time frame. And if I didn't work on me during that time frame, I wouldn't be able to sit and talk about that story. And for me, this season, like now, it's just like, this exhale is like, damn, like, okay, I came back, I'm starting to do my thing, and it's just like, shit, we got to deal with this shit. All right, cool. But, it's all about how you perceive it. It's all about one's perception on a situation. Like, we can sit and we can solve about what's going on, which there are, people dying during this time. But on the flip side of that, it's all about how you see that. And I try to put perspective on everything that's going on right now, because I hit rock bottom, right? I hit rock bottom emotionally, and I had to build myself back up, basically by myself, to get here where I'm at today, to be able to tell this story. So this season will always like be the highlight, one of the highlight chapters of any story that I ever tell.
No doubt. Kudos to you, Mel, man. For real, like I said, it's honestly one of the, I don't know if it's even talked about enough, one of the great stories of this season. Now we're going to move on to a section we have called No Bullshit, where we keep it real on a topic not related to the Bulls. And this week's topic is equality in sports. On Friday, a federal judge ruled against the U.S. women's national soccer team in their equal pay lawsuit. Sue, in your opinion, how does this ruling, if at all, affect the movement for equality in women's sports?
So I obviously have some insider information just because, I was with Megan when she got the actual call saying that this judge had made this judgment, and just seeing the look on her face, but then also getting to hear her with her teammates and their lawyers kind of talk about some stuff. And obviously there's going to be more to come with all of that. I think sometimes you do have to take a step or two backwards in order to move forwards. And I think if you actually really look at it and you read what this judge said, I think you'll understand that it literally is bullshit, some of his opinions, because they're just opinions. They weren't based on precedent. They weren't based on a lot of different things. And I think if you're someone who actually looks it's just going to make you madder, right? So obviously I have a stake in this in some regard. So of course it's going to make me bad. But I think if you're just somebody who doesn't know anything and you take time to look, it might even make you, even more angry than you were before. So again, yes, it's like a little bit of a step back because there's going to be some people who are like, oh, well, the judge said this. But I actually think it's going to rally people is really what I'm trying to say. So again, it's a bummer, but I know the fight's not over and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think to echo what Sue said, it's an ongoing challenge. It's never ending. There's no, just like for civil rights that we've been fighting since the day the first ship, landed in 1619 on the shores of this country for rights for Black people. It's never, there's no moment where you just stick the flag and go, victory, we now own this land. And for women's rights in sports, it's an ongoing challenge. There's many issues to it, whether it be money. I was just talking to an athlete today, a female athlete, is talking about, women arguing with refs is viewed differently, and women arguing and being aggressive in society, period, is viewed differently. And I think it's an ongoing fight. And when you know that, when you sign up, as Sue has, as we have as a company, as Melo has, as an athlete who cares about people, you sign up knowing you're going to lose some of the rounds. There's no, even Floyd Mayweather went 50-0 or Ali, who's the best fighter ever. They never won every round. You lose some rounds. So to Sue's point, you lost a round, lost, but it doesn't mean it's over or anywhere near. It just started actually. Like the fight that Sue is at the front of and Megan are at the forefront of is actually just started. It's like it's so early. This judge didn't end it. It's really like the second round, maybe the beginning of the second round. You lose a round, you take one on the jaw, you say, I ate that one, that wasn't enough to knock me out, we're still here. So that's how I look at it.
Before we wrap, I'm going to end this show kind of how we started it, which is by giving Sue her props.
Please do.
Love is Interrupted, a campaign around homophobic bullying awareness, created by Sue and Megan Rapinoe and Uninterrupted, was recently nominated for a Diversity and Inclusion Webby Award. Congrats, Sue. Props to Sue.
Virtual cheers. No, virtual cheers.
Absolutely.
Virtual social distancing cheers.
Yeah,
So I want to say congrats.
Thank you. Once I saw the news that the hoodie and the just the whole concept behind it was being nominated, it kind of took me back to when we first started to create the hoodie, and it all came together. Obviously, not just me, not just Megan, everyone involved. That hoodie has such a deep meaning for us. It speaks to our lives and wanting, to be able to help other people in their path. So truly an honor, and I hope we win that thing.
So I want to say congrats. And to everyone who's watching or listening, head over to webbyawards.com and vote. I want to thank this all-star cast for joining us. We obviously ran like an hour long, but this conversation felt like it was 5 minutes long, man. So I appreciate y'all joining, man. Again, hope to see both of you on the court soon, in uniform, and we could drink some wine after to celebrate. All right, thanks for joining WRTS. All right, peace.
Peace.
Before we get out of here, I want to make sure you guys subscribe right here on the Uninterrupted YouTube channel. For our podcast listeners, we ain't forget about you. Head to the Uninterrupted WRTS feed, available wherever you get your pods. We'll see y'all back next week on episode 4. Signing off.
WRTS After Party.